Perhaps you've heard of the Great Awakening. Well, it's time for a great awakening in business. As people become more and more aware of the fact that we need to begin collaborating on this planet to survive. And it's actually a much more enlightened way of being, that we don't have to step over each other to get somewhere. Survival of the fittest. Mankind's been in survival mode for millennia now. And it didn't used to be that way. There are past ancient civilizations that did not behave that way. And then the Industrial Revolution came on to be. And guess what? Those industrialists, it was all about making money. So they created specific jobs for every single one of those people to do. And they had to be overmanaged because they maybe were apprenticing or, didn't have the education or whatever. And so these hierarchies were born. And then somebody decided to call it a 40-hour work week. And of course, back then you showed up to do work. There was no Zoom. There was no, you had to be together to work. Although there were global organizations that somehow functioned with just telephones. This is what we're still doing today, treating people like they're uneducated, incapable of their own thoughts and ideas. And so we're quashing innovation. We're still in the hierarchy. We don't need to command and control people. We have a highly educated workforce globally. We have the ability to, at the snap of a finger, get on a video call and hash something out, share documents, you name it. We do not have to be co-located. We're able with technology to dramatically reduce our workload. So what happened with this 40-hour work week still being enforced? There are so many practices, 14 of them I list in my book, that I know to be common practices no matter what organization you're in. They exist and they all need to be let go. And the reason I talk about them in my book is because we're born into this paradigm. We were taught to do that. It took me 20 years in business to get it, to see it one day, because I had the opportunity to work across entire organizations and see the whole picture, which even leaders in the organization weren't aware of. I saw all the opportunity, and everywhere I went, it was the same opportunity. It just looked different, was titled differently, whatever. Might have had more employees, might have had the different industry, didn't matter. Same problems everywhere. And I had to get to the root of it. And then I began to question, well, how did we get here? And what ideally, even better yet, is where do we want to go? We need to start delivering value to the world. We need to stop wasting. Our oceans are full of plastics. We're a wasteful society. And I can tell you, the larger the organization, the amount of waste is overwhelming. I have been in some Fortune 100s with like 350,000 people. And within 3 months, it was easy to identify billions of dollars in waste. Billions. They actually needed about half of their employees. But don't let that scare you, because the model of the future is we all don't have to work 40-hour work weeks. We all have innate talents. We continue to expand on those talents, and we can deliver value beautifully and quickly and continue to innovate. It takes human beings to innovate. Human beings are still valuable. It's just we don't have to live in the old construct. And what we haven't had time for in those 40-hour work weeks is the proper raising of our children. Being able to take the time to work with our communities to improve how our children are raised and taken care of so that they're ready to be effective members of society, and to be able to come home and not be so disillusioned from work that you have to have a drink or go for a run, anything but sit down with your kids for a minute because you're just in such a mood. No organization, do not ever think any company is going to care enough about you to not lay you off tomorrow. And the very hierarchy that is created is what creates overhiring when times are good, because we throw a bunch of bodies at everything. We don't actually design great processes and systems. We just throw people at it. And then guess what happens? The market shifts, times get tough, massive layoffs. Now, I've been through 8 layoffs in my life, and I can tell you that's a shock to the system. Financially, very difficult. And I don't know how I never went bankrupt, but I didn't. But I came close. It's like, how often can you sustain that? And the higher up you are in the company, like once you hit director level, VP level, you don't find a job in a month. That severance pay only lasts so long. I could just never get ahead. And now downsizing and layoffs is common. It's just expected. And it's the automatic decision by the CFO. We're going to cut costs. I have seen CFOs cut costs that have crippled a business, crippled the process, crippled the delivery process. Now operations is wondering why it's taking twice as long to deliver the same product. And it's because somebody cut a chart of accounts out. Hey, we could save a couple million here. Whack. And it crippled the people doing the work. So managing by spreadsheet is not the answer. If we're going to survive as a species, we need to come together and we need to be adding value to the world. So our organization should be providing value. And that includes the very sanity of how we're working together. We deliver value to the world, people will pay for it. We should design our businesses to deliver value. We don't need a hierarchy to do that. You know, when a disaster strikes, like the hurricane that went through Asheville, North Carolina, whole communities come together instantly and start providing services for people. They didn't need a bunch of micromanagers to get that done. People will come together when they're clear on their purpose. So purpose-driven, customer-centric organizations are the future with flexible working conditions. As long as I'm delivering value, I shouldn't be on a time clock. You know what? I'll get the job done. Let people bring their talents, collaborate, innovate, cut out all the bureaucracy. No more politics. You know, you complain about politics, yet you have it in your organization. The hierarchy breeds it because the only way to get up the ladder is to be a good politician. Doesn't make you a good leader. I know I'm being really straight with you, but that's the way I run. You always know where you stand. I'm passionate about people. I see way too much suffering. And as an empath, I have walked into organizations and immediately felt the heaviness in the organization, how oppressed people were. And I have left organizations because I felt that way. The interview went great. And then you get in there and you're like, oh, wow, let's change things, guys. Let's change things. That's what I'm up to. I'm bringing a new model. It's proven. There's no sense to reinvent something. Let me help you. I'm happy to help. It's my passion. I want my children to have fantastic opportunities in this world. They're Gen Zers, you know, I don't disagree with their work ethic. They take time to recover. They take time to take care of their health. I ran myself into adrenal fatigue working so hard in the corporate America way. And guess what? They laid me off anyway. So much for that, right? We shouldn't have to sacrifice quality of life, and we should still be able to contribute to society. And there's a way to do that. And I don't care what industry you're in, healthcare, education, government, business, products, services, tech. I got a model for all of it. It works. So if you want to lighten the load, enjoy the rest of your life because you spend most of it working, although hopefully less of it in the future. Let's change things. And it comes with those of you that own businesses, that founded businesses. You have the power to take this on. So let's do it. Don't fool yourself that your small company right now is going to keep that lovely culture, collaborative culture as it grows, because it cannot in the old construct, using old practices. Love to talk with you. Let's hear about what you're dealing with and where you want to take your organization, and let's make it happen.